Boom! Hey, everybody! Welcome back to the AV Tech Talks, the podcast edition, or the AV podcast, right? Live on AVE. Thank you for coming and tuning in with us so much. I'm super excited about tonight's talk. Thanks for being here from the iPhone. Apparently, that's the land out there, but thanks for being here from iPhone. Fernando, I appreciate you being here so much with us, brother. And Alex, man, you're tuning in from Oregon. That's awesome. Thanks for being here from Oregon. I'm in my house today, so I'm in from Florida. I'm down in Miami. Our guest tonight, which is Scott Munroe from part of the GDN Growth and Development Network, is tuning in from Orlando, probably, or it could be somewhere else. We don't know, but we can ask him in just a second. So if you guys want to just comment down below where you're from, give us a like and a share, and let's get stuff started. Remember, if you're new to tonight's session, if it's your first time here with us, this is a live Q&A session. So me and Scott will be talking about mentorship in the AV industry, how you guys can be kind of doing that for yourselves, how you can be helping other people out and bringing people into the industry. Angela Winnings, man, going, I don't know what that is, NG at 2? Oh, I don't know, man. Sorry. You got to help me out here. NG, what is that? I'm going to leave it up there too. NG. If you guys are new again, sorry, it's a live Q&A session. So bring your questions live. I'll do just like this is here. I'll post them up here. I'll get them to you. Here we go. Fernando's coming from Tampa, Florida. Thanks for being from Tampa. I'm a big fan of Tampa, by the way. Good friend of ours, actually good friend of Scott and me both is out there, is Clem Harold. He's out in Tampa. We should have brought him out tonight, but that's a different conversation there. So again, Angela Women's iPhone. Got it. Okay, cool. So a couple of you guys go in there. Remember, again, this is a live Q&A session. We're talking about mentorship in AV. I'd love to hear your stories. You hear some of our stories. We'll talk about a couple of things. But again, I'm talking a lot here, right? And I talk fast. I'm Latin. I'm sorry about that. But let me bring in Scott to join us in the talk conversation. All right. So Scott, you there?
Yes, I am. How's everybody doing?
Awesome. Oh, we're doing good. Oh, you know what? I don't have the shirt on. I got to get one of these shirts down the road.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Well, hey, man, I'm seeing a lot of familiar names popping up in the comments. That's great.
Awesome.
Shout out to Alex there from Oregon. Now, Alex is from our neck of the woods, but he's out in Oregon tuning in. That's awesome. Fernando, what's going on, Fernando?
I like that. So I'm seeing comments coming in here. Hoping you're loving the TD lighting. Something there. I'm liking the iPhone, guys. Everybody's on iPhones. I got an iPhone here somewhere too. Tampa, Florida. But anyways, sorry. Guys, like I said, live Q&A session. You got Scott, you got me. We're here to answer all kinds of questions. We're here to talk about stuff. Oh, we got Ed. Ed is the man. If you guys don't know who Ed is, Ed is one of the hosts of the AV Tech Talks. He's the brains behind a lot of that stuff. Super mad genius. So if you guys got questions you guys want to ask in the comment side, he's definitely got to ask there. If we don't miss it, if we don't cover everything, he's got some deep insight. So how's it going, Ed? Thanks for being here with us. Oh, is that Canada? We got Canada in the house. I like Canada. Okay.
Oh, Canada.
There we go. Hey, Scott. So, Scott, sorry. Let's introduce you a little more, right? Tell us about Scott. Tell us about the GDN. Let's get started with who Scott is first.
Okay, great. Well, hey, thank you for having me on the show, Omar. You know, I've been a big fan of AV Tech Talks, and you and Ed and Bodie are doing a fantastic job with that. I think it's grown beyond all expectations, and you guys are really serving our community by helping educate us in a time that we all needed something to look forward to, and hopefully come out of this with skills that we didn't have before. But for those of you that don't know me, I've been in the audiovisual business for about 16 years. This is my second life. I retired from corporate America when I was 42, realized that I was bored being retired and decided to jump into the AV industry. And I'm proud to say that I'm about 16 years later, I still don't know hardly anything about tech. Imagine that. Which kind of brings us to our conversation today is how am I able to survive in a technical environment for over 15 years? And I think a lot of it has to do with mentorships, actually. And speaking of mentorships, my group called the GDN, let's see if I can get this right here. I'll figure it out. It's one of these sites, but here's my shirt, the GDN. It's a Facebook group. It is a private Facebook group, and it's kind of like what we call an online mentorship, where you have roughly 1,000 people in this group that helps provide insights, learnings, mentoring, or will answer any questions that you have. And also, I tend to post a lot of job openings, job opportunities that I hear from my network. Give you an insight who's in the GDN. You wouldn't notice by looking at the profiles, but believe it or not, we do have several business owners in there. We have several CEOs, we have millionaires, we have multimillionaires, no billionaires that I'm aware of. And they kind of hang in the background looking to see what's going on. And they are definitely interested in what we're doing, both on the AV Educate side and the GDN side. As you may know, Omar and I have done things together. We've collaborated on several events. And one of the things that we realized that there was definitely a huge need for obviously technical training. There's also a huge need for more of the mentorship, the soft skills, the relationship skills, basic business skills. And that's kind of where I came in. So, between both Omar and I, we were kind of attacking our industry and other industries from both sides, trying to provide two different levels of thought process in hopes that when we all came out of the pandemic, that we would be more well-rounded and therefore would create more opportunities for us all. But that's pretty much me, and that's pretty much what the GDN is. And I think Omar will throw up a link here on how you would get to this private Facebook group. And I highly encourage all of you to join this group and contribute any learnings you have. I will warn you, there is absolutely zero negativity allowed in the group. We did that for a reason, because we wanted to provide an avenue and a location to where you could come and be free of that negativity. I mean, there's plenty of negativity out there on Facebook and elsewhere. We didn't want that to occur. In fact, we have a little inside joke we call, we'll send you to the NPN, the Negative People Network, if you get negative on our group. But again, it's just there for you to learn. Oh, thanks, Rob. Yeah, Rob's been a benefit of the GDN. And one of the things that I'm so proud of Rob is we just did a virtual show. Those you may or may not know that the GDN is co-branded with Orlando Productions, also called OPAV. And what they do is they give the GDN an opportunity to do training with folks that want to learn camera, learn how to switch, learn streaming. And Rob was one of the gentlemen who volunteered, keyword, he volunteered to come out, and he did a fantastic job running cameras in a live event for us. And that's kind of one of our claim to fame, is we'll not only allow you to get experience with a industry professional, somebody who's been around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but you also get an opportunity to run that camera during a live show the same day. So this has been a benefit to a lot. We've had a lot of people come in, learn cameras, learn how to switch cameras, and then go out into the environment and actually get jobs. So we're proud of that. We have fun doing it, and everybody has a great time. We're also affectionately known as the Outbreak Outlaws. Jacob Lee, one of our GDN coaches, designed a shirt for us, and basically, I don't have it with me, but it just has a picture of a cowboy with comms on and a mask on and a cowboy hat. And because we kind of went against the grain during the pandemic and went out there and with mask on, kept moving our industry forward, just like AV Educate did. So that's really about me and GDN in a nutshell. And I know Omar has questions and things. So we're going to get Omar back on here, and let's have some fun tonight, guys.
That was fantastic. I mean, we're talking about mentorship tonight. You have a whole program literally meant to mentor people, right? Yes, it's doing great things already. When you and me first met, beginning of COVID, we collabed for a while here, and we did a bunch of training for the AV industry. We were doing live sessions and stuff like that. I got Chris Brown here, coming from Orlando, Florida. Thanks, Chris, for being here so much with us. Chris also. If you guys don't know Chris, perfect. Chris, I hate to call you out, brother, but you're my brother. You're here, and I love you for this. But Chris used to be in another industry prior to COVID. Scott and me were doing training stuff with it. Chris came out of his own accord from Naples, Florida to Orlando, did a couple trainings with us together. And Bodie, Christopher Brown, Bodie. I call him Bodie. You guys might know him as Christopher, but he's my brother. We've been best friends for since I was in diapers. But anyways, he came to a couple of trainings with us, and Bodie, I won't say what industry he was in. I'll let him, if you want to put that in the comments, brother, I'll let you put that in the comments, but he was in a different industry. I wanted to help him transition to our industry. I love our industry. I love what we do. Clearly, I'm passionate about what we do. Chris came over during the pandemic, learned it, got set down, got hands-on training with it, with Scott, with myself, with Austin Jackson, with Ed, with a bunch of guys, just guys that were just, hey, what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? Sit here with us. We'll teach you what we can between, vMix. He came in as an OBS guy, hands down OBS Stream Deck. He had that in his back pocket. He was showing guys in our industry how to do things. So he was definitely, he posted it. So he was definitely the people that comes to Stream Deck and OBS, which is a big plus. But look, so it's Christopher Brown was a pool man. Repairing pools to himself, not enjoying my job. That's what he was doing before. And he learned within a year how to do streaming, vmixing. He was already competent with IT, so it wasn't all just us mentoring him, but he was already competent with IT. He had certifications in that prior from his college years and high school and stuff. And then he did this for his family. He's a very family man, very family oriented. Has a loving family, beautiful kids, and he got a job to support them. And then I saw an opportunity for him to say, "Hey, if you hate this job so much, try this out. It's free training. It's free opportunity." I would like to say that I mentored him, right? And now, 12 months later, he's doing vMix gigs, he's doing streaming gigs, he's doing Zoom gigs, and he's part of one of the hosts for the AV Tech Talk. So he learned a lot of this stuff from not just me, but also from the GD and also from doing these events and putting his time out there and learning. So this is a perfect case where he took advantage of what was offered out there. He did the online training, he did the courses, he did the due diligence. And learn from being part of the GD and part of the AV Educate. I don't know, Scott, I don't know if you want to add to that. Obviously, he's my brother, so I'm fanboying him tonight, but.
Yeah. I would say I love Bodie. My favorite memory of Bodie was we had one of our virtual concerts that were happening at OP, and Bodie was scheduled to do the live stream, I believe. And he was trying to get here. He didn't have transportation to get down. And the thing that just totally blew me away with Bodie was, he said, "Scott, I'm going to be there even if I have to rent a car." Now, on a typical gig, yeah, no problem. But one that you're volunteering for in the middle of a pandemic where you're not making any money, that blew me away. His level of commitment to try to learn and to become part of our industry was just absolutely phenomenal. And with that and his positive can-do attitude, it was just always a pleasure to be around. And I also want to do a shout out to Ed, because although Ed couldn't be with us during those virtual concerts, he was helping us out in the background, watching, giving us all the pointers on the things that we could, not only we were doing well, but the things we could have done better. And shout out to you, Ed. Thank you so much. You were a big help with that. And Ed is one of those guys that you'll hear two words come out of my mouth frequently. One is Swiss Army knife, and the other is a unicorn. Ed is a unicorn. And let me explain those to you because it'll make sense to you. First of all, a Swiss Army knife, if you haven't gathered now, if you've been out in the AV or live events industry, is you're actually probably doing a little bit more than you used to in terms of responsibilities. And therefore, it's very advantageous for you to learn more than one discipline. And that's where obviously AV Educate comes in to help you learn a broad spectrum of things in our little universe here. So if you're not becoming a Swiss Army knife, now's a great time to do it. Get a hold of everything Omar and AV Educate puts out, everything they're talking about in AV Tech Talks, and just make yourself well-rounded, because those are the guys that I'm looking for to hire, and so are my counterparts. The other one is my favorite one, is the unicorn. It's basically a Swiss Army knife, but with people skills. And talking to the owners that are in my group, that's one thing that they say is sorely missed in our industry. We do a really, really good job of training ourselves technically, but we tend to not put as much effort in those relationship and those people skills. And the owners are telling me, he says, there's a lot of guys who are absolutely talented, but I just can't put them in front of my clients. He said, pre-COVID, I could put them somewhere where they wouldn't interact with my clients, but now I don't have that luxury. I've had to scale down my crews, and now the likelihood of them coming in contact with my client is very likely. And so a lot of them are resorting to hiring unicorns. And so I highly encourage you, if you're not yet a unicorn, become one. That's something that I love helping people with when it comes to relationship skills, people skills, any type of entrepreneurial skills, anything that you want to talk about in reference to becoming an entrepreneur and being successful, whether you are in a restaurant business or you are in the AV live events business. Hey, I've done a lot, I've seen a lot, and I have a lot of mentors myself. So I would love to talk to you if you definitely want to chat about mentorship or anything of that nature.
So Scott, I love some of the things you just said here about the community, about people mentoring. What is somebody? So Pete just showed me this here, and Pete, man, 100% props for being in the industry, grinding your teeth in here, cutting your teeth, and raising up. But he says learning stuff on my own all the time, right? So, what is something that the community and people watching tonight could kind of think about? Like, hey, how about if you didn't have a mentor, who could you mentor in this day and age right now, right? What are some advice we can give to people to say, you know what, if you weren't mentored, or if you had a mentor, how can you pass that on to somebody else? What can we possibly do or bestow upon the community to say, maybe it's time for you to be the next mentor. Maybe it's time that you've got enough skill set. I mean, Ed's constantly giving back, Chris is constantly giving back. Iris always learning, always growing. Iris is constantly giving back to the community. What is something that someone watching tonight could say, hey, you know what? I am competent enough and I am good enough to maybe help the next guy out. Like, what are some things they should be looking out for? And I'd love to hear your words on that, Scott.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think everybody can be a mentor, honestly. And I'm not ashamed to say I have mentors that are 25 years old and some that are 75 years old. I don't discriminate when it comes to mentors, because I learned a long time ago that when you only have one mentor, you're only getting one point of view. Okay, if you think about it, a mentor is somebody who has maybe done what you want to do before, or have been through enough life to where they could probably share with you some of their experiences, but they're only going to be able to share from you from their perspective. And although that's great to have a mentor, I'd rather have a mentor than no mentor, but it's even better to have multiple mentors. I mean, everybody on here, can offer some type of mentorship to somebody. Think of the things that you do well. Think of something that you're interested in. And it doesn't have to be necessarily AV or tech related. If you look at the things that I do mentor, and I'll be upfront with you. I do have some NDAs. I can't mention names, but I mentor brand new out of the box entrepreneurs all the way up to CEOs. And I'm because my Sundays are kind of CEO Sundays where I talk to CEOs. Do I teach them anything? Not really. They're smart guys and gals. But what I always do is I always talk to them, and we talk about their challenges and obstacles and things that go well. And I just share an opinion with them, or I share with them my experience. And that's, kind of, if you look back at the things that you do well, that would be a great avenue for you to start offering mentorship. Now, I will tell you from experience, not everybody realizes the value of mentorship. Speaking of myself, when I was a lot younger and had a little more hair and a lot less gray, I thought I knew it all, man. I was one of those guys, man. Yeah, actually, I don't need you, man. And boy, was I wrong. And it was one of the persons that I actually gave a shot to mentoring, who was actually a little bit younger than me at the time. He said, hey, think about this. He says, look at the professional athletes. They all have coaches. Okay. You look at some of the top CEOs, they have coaches. Why do you think you're too good to have a coach? And that kind of hit me, and hit me hard. And it wasn't until I started taking mentorship from folks that I actually started to start meeting my goals and exceeding my goals. Because, hey, nobody hands you that book when you're born and says, here's all the answers. If you have them, I want a copy. In fact, Omar probably would too. So why would you want to go out in life and recreate the wheel on everything that's happening out there when you can just reach out to a mentor and talk to them? And like I said, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. I mean, I talk to people about simple things as well as complex things. So if you are a genius lighting designer, offer your mentorship. If you build wooden chairs, hey, offer that mentorship. Once you get started in it, you'll be surprised how many avenues open up. There may be more things that you can teach. And, everybody has to learn. So there's a beginning level in every profession or every topic that people would love to hear your experience on. So, hey, I would say just pick something that you're passionate about and knowledgeable about, and just offer it to people who may be interested.
I like that a lot. There's just this great conversation going on in the chats right now, and it's funny because it's on different platforms. But on the Facebook side, we have Pete who's saying depending on what they want to know or things they are working on, right? Which I totally hear where you're coming from on that, and I totally get it. And there are scenarios, right, where sometimes we want to be helpful, we want to be educational and informative to our colleagues, our coworkers, or someone below us. And there's not always a time to do it, right? There's sometimes hey, I got work going on. I got, we're on a tight deadline here. I don't have the time to really talk you through this. I need to get done right the first time. You did it wrong already. go somewhere else. I got to work on this, and I got to keep moving. Like that happens, right? And it totally works. And then on the YouTube side, gentleman Audis here, he says, I have mentored a couple of teenagers in my church media ministries who have moved on to working for radio stations as producers. So it's like a couple of different scenario where church environment's a little bit different. Maybe it's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more chill, where you can guys get some hands on with these guys and really get them that fine tune, one-on-one you need versus the corporate or live concert sides, especially, which are super, trucks come a certain way, they get unpacked a certain way, they get pushed in a certain way and loaded up a certain way. And same with corporate versus maybe this environment where things are a little bit different, right? Things are a little bit more, not slower, but more easily attainable to say, hey, let me sit with you, let me work with you, let me get this going. I'm liking kind of this contrast going on here. I'm curious, Scott, to hear some of your perspectives on that between having the time to be the mentor and being able to be a mentor, and then obviously the joy, right? And also, I'd love to hear more from you. What's the joy that gets to see that you trained somebody or mentored somebody, and now they went from this was a stagehand from XYZ, and I have my own story, which we can get into later, but they went from XYZ and now they're a producer at a radio station. Like that's got to be a huge achievement, not only to your own skills as a leader, but as an instructor to that person. Like, that's, you gave them you didn't just change someone's life, you gave them a job, right? And all you did was bestow some knowledge, and they took it and ran with it, and they went to the next level. Scott, I'd love to hear your perspective on this kind of double-edged sword here between how do I do this effectively versus I've done this effectively, but it's a different situation.
Yeah, it's absolutely challenging, Omar. It's even in my own group, I'm finding it difficult to get myself everywhere I need to be. Was very fortunate during the pandemic and all the GDN stuff we were doing that it provided a lot of opportunities outside of AV. They were kind of related, but outside of that really took me far, far away. But I think when it comes down to mentorship, if somebody's really and truly interested in mentorship, I will find the time for them. But it's where I've experienced a lot is there's folks that they talk a really good game, they want to mentor, and you invest the time, and it doesn't seem like they reciprocate or they value it as much. So that's the part, as mentors, you got to kind of look at that and say, okay, all right, I'm willing to mentor you. I'm willing to carve out time if you show me you're interested, if you do the things, that I'm sharing with you to help you get better. And that's kind of where I kind of draw the line is, one of the things that the folks that I have the privilege of mentoring is I tell them, I have one requirement, and it's if you would like me to mentor you, you have to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you won't take the time to read that, I won't take the time to mentor you. Because I truly believe that despite all of our knowledge and everything, our people skills, our relationship skills is the key to making our lives as happy as possible. And that's kind of where I start out the weeding out process, if that kind of answers your question there, Omar. And I will tell you that those who have allowed me to continue to mentor them over the years, I've seen tremendous growth, not only in their personal lives, but their professional lives. I mean, like I said, I'm not the know-all, be-all, but when I do have the opportunity to be blessed to mentor somebody, I tell them, I say, please don't make me your only mentor, okay? I'm only gonna be able to give you a very limited view of my experiences in life. Granted, I've done a lot in my lifetime, but I, by far, don't know everything. And, there are many people who are in the GDN and AV Educate that I've seen go from this level to this level beyond, that I've had the pleasure of working with or maybe sharing some advice with. There's folks in the GDN who have done phenomenal things. I really can't touch base with you on their names and everything because obviously I have a confidential agreement with them. There is one person that I can share because she will allow me to, and that's Laura Gabriella was one of my coaches in the GDN. She has now started a nonprofit organization and has done extremely well with it and is really reaching a lot of folks who are in need. But that's just one of many, many stories of people who, we start out just having just great conversations, and then items would pop up that I might have some experience with or some insight on that I would share with them. And then we would go back and forth and massage it. And then they would take the spirit of what I told them and use that to guide them in their decision making. And let me tell you a little bit what I mean by spirit is, mentorship is not an absolute exact science. It's more of a guideline. If you kind of think about it as, if you remember when you first went bowling, right? And you're a little kid and every time you threw the ball, it went in a gutter, and then somebody got the bright idea to put the little gutter guards on, right? Well, if you have a really good mentor, you can kind of think of them as those guides going down the gutter, right? To say, okay, kind of keep it in this lane right here. I mean, you don't have to keep it straight in the middle, just keep it somewhere in here. And that's kind of what a mentor is. They're going to give you a general idea of, hey, these are how things happened when I was doing it, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, or whatever. And then it's up to you to extrapolate the moral of the story or the meaning of that story and tailor it to fit your current situation. And those people who look at that as an opportunity to learn seem to do a little bit better, in my opinion, as they go after their goals, dreams, and desired network.
I like how you brought up here as well, not only just those gutters, kind of like, you don't have to always be straight on the line. You can go here and there a little bit, and the mentor kind of gives you that safety net. I like the part where you had mentioned a little bit in the beginning of this about having multiple mentors. I think that's also really important. When I first started in the industry, I give a lot of credit to a gentleman named Mark Duffy, another gentleman, Michael Lurs, and my own father, Oscar Colomb, from working with them for so many years. And I got to tell you, at the beginning, it was very frustrating. I'm a video engineer. I'm skilled at what I do. I've been doing this for 10 plus years, paid, right? And I say that because my father was an AV company. So yes, I grew up in the industry. I grew up seeing this stuff and being around it and QCing and things like that. But it really wasn't until I left the military that I kind of dove really into to be part of this. And this was in 2010. So when I was learning this stuff for the first 6 years of my career, I was being taught by Duffy, by Lurs, and by my father, and they all had these slightly different way of doing things. And it was very frustrating for me to learn from them because it's like, okay, I'm gonna do projector today. I gotta do this blend. And one's telling me one thing, and the other's saying the opposite thing. And the other's like, just do whatever you think is right. It's like, what? I need to know, But what ended up happening is I ended up learning a lot of different ways to do things, which is kind of how this industry runs in general. But I learned a lot of different ways to do things. And now, fast forward to all these years later, I have a lot of different ways to solve problems now because I was shown all these different ways. When I was learning it, totally frustrated. I wanted to know, like, what's the best way to do this? I need to get it done. I'm learning this stuff. Now I'm like, I'm glad I learned so many different ways to do it because I've been in some scenarios where like, oh yeah, I got a solution for this, don't worry about it. I learned it years ago. And that's because I had multiple mentors teach me. Essentially, they had the same end game, right? Like, hey, we want you to be proficient. We want you to learn this. This is what I think is the best way to do it. And I took from that from myself and learned what I thought was the best way. And I continue to do that when I pass it on. I teach what I think is the best method and I explain myself as the best that I can. And then I let them kind of do their own thing and like, hey, that's fine if you want to do it that way. I wouldn't do that because of XYZ reasons. And I'll explain myself a little bit. Only because I remember when I was learning, I didn't get the explanation. I just got told this is how you need to do it. And it was very frustrating. But now again, fast forward, it's the saving grace I have because now I'm much more versatile. And I would say, being an EIC for a lot of the shows that I do, that skill set, that knowledge of how to kind of tackle things and problem solve was fantastic because it really helped me understand a broader aspect of video from a lot of different angles that now I use to my benefit, obviously, because it's part of my career. But I'm going to write myself down real quick. I wanted to bring up what George had said here in the comments, which I thought was really nice. Scott, if you could read this for me, I'm going to find this on Facebook because I see some of it's cut off here. But he said, okay. If you could just read that and I'll find the rest.
Sure, absolutely. So George says, I had a great mentor, my old guitar teacher, Mr. Burris, who had multiple sclerosis. He moved mountains in education and inspired so many thirsty young minds throughout decades and was so capable while only being able to move his head. Overcame his adversity and disability and had more willpower and ability than most. I'm very grateful and fortunate to have been able to have been taught and inspired by him. Today, I try to pass the torch and give all my knowledge in any movement or any moment that I see. I'm assuming that's opportunity. It's cut off. Dude, that's fantastic, George. And here we go. We're talking about guitar teaching. We're talking. It doesn't have to be technical stuff. It doesn't have to be. It's whatever. You can mentor anybody on anything. I think that's great, George. Awesome. What else do we have there?
George is saying he's working on and off. I totally resonate with that, and I get it. So Scott, Ed, if you're still out there, I'd love to get a story from you or Chris about something that was kind of like that aha moment for you guys. You guys are big players in my mind in the industry. Scott, you're also a big player, but you guys, are constantly there. You're who I call, right? So, to put that in perspective, like I have people that I still call, and I wanted to go back to something that was said a little bit earlier in the chats from Pete. As a stagehand, I mentor some less experienced stagehands in what to do, and I ask people with here's what it is. And I ask people with more experience what you would do in a certain application when I need help. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm pretty good at what I do. I have a pretty good reputation, right? I'm knowledgeable. I still have good people that I call because I don't know everything. Ed is a phenomenal video engineer, phenomenal audio engineer. Definitely, you can get into minutia with him about the nitty gritty stuff. You can talk about the SMPTE, the bit rate, the data, all that stuff. If Ed's at a loss of words, which is almost never, I can call Chris up and be like, "Hey, Chris, I'm having this issue. It's IT related. I know that's your strong points. Can you help me walk me through this?" And within 10, 15 minutes between the two, I've got a solution. And they're not the only guys that I call, but they're some of my go-to guys because we're friends. We hang out, we talk, we work together, we do business together, and they're smart, and we can communicate on that level. Do you guys out there have maybe not mentors that you don't think that way, but do you have a connection to somebody that you have a call, right? Or are you that person people call all the time for work? I think that's a very powerful place to be in the industry, because it's not only empowering to say, hey, I'm able to help my colleagues, my friends, but at the same token, it's like you're trusted enough for them to call you. And I think, Scott, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. And this is a question for me, right? This is to me to you. I'm at a point now that we're coming out of this COVID scenario, right? The pandemic was a disaster for everybody. It was hard. The hustlers and movers and shakers, they did what they got to do to survive. Everybody's doing the same. Everybody's in the same boat. Work's coming back, right? I am feeling, and maybe it's an ego thing here, but I am feeling that sometimes I am the smartest in the room, right? And I am having to be like the mentor for a lot of people. And it's like, I still know there's a lot I don't know yet. I don't want to be in this position. I want to be the playback guy, the graphics guy, so I can learn from somebody else, because I think I don't know it all yet, right? But I'm in that leadership role where I am the lead guy and I am doing these positions and I am executing them well and I'm getting positive from my client. But I don't feel like I know enough yet. What is your advice to guys who might be going through that right now, where we're in that middle ground, like, hey, we know a lot to be in these positions, but we feel like we don't know enough. But now coming back in, it's like, did all those experienced guys walk away? Do we need to humble ourselves and be like, hey, listen, like, if you took, maybe I'm talking to myself now, right? If you took the time during COVID, like a lot of us did, and took classes, all the free classes that were offered, right? I mean, days on end doing online classes, all the free opportunity for do trainings, all the networking we did to communicate with each other, stay in contact, to train each other, to cross-train each other, to just be involved. If you did all that stuff, maybe you are that much smarter coming back in, and you are kind of with the go-to guy. But how do we stop ourselves from being like, I know I don't have all the answers, but I need to have all the answers. But at the same token, I want to train these guys and help them. And it's like, I do see the double-edged sword of that, right? Like, I want to be useful, I want to be helpful. I know I don't have all the answers. Is that part of the growing pains of this industry, or is that part of just, you're at that role now, people respect you, people, they see you for what it is, and you need to, like you're saying in the comments, pick up the torch or the mantle and pass it on, right? What is your 2 cents, Scott? Dissect that, man.
Well, I have to say, in all honesty, you put yourself in that position. So that's one thing I love about you is I always joke about Omar. He has a different learning process than I do. What I love about Omar, he can pick up a technical manual, read it from cover to cover, and be happy. I pick up a technical manual and I'm asleep by the end of the first page because it just doesn't resonate with me. In fact, I often joke with Omar. I said his idea of a good night is grabbing a technical manual and curling up next to Amanda and having a great evening reading the manual. But that's his style of learning. That's who he is. And, you did go full bore into learning and teaching. So, yeah, you are respected in the community. And I don't think you're ever going to be able to shake that, my friend, which is great. It's a great, great feeling. I'm sure that, you enjoy people asking you. But, here's the one thing that I always tell people is when you're a mentor, there's 2 points of view you can speak from, and you need to be very, very clear. And one is you're speaking from an opinion or you're speaking from advice. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, when I try to mentor folks, I try to let them know whether I'm speaking from opinion or from actual advice. And what I mean by that is if I've experienced what you're asking me and I have knowledge of it, I'm going to be able to give you some advice. Okay. But if I have no knowledge of what you're asking, all I can do is give you an opinion. And I think that's very crucial that as leaders that we are, that we kind of forefront that when we're talking to them. A lot of people come up to me and they think for some reason that, I can, call a show. Nope, I can't. Why? I don't know, but they do. I said I can give you an opinion because I've never done it before. So I think, obviously, unfortunately, Omar, yes, you're in that position because you take the time to educate yourself. It's well known, and you should be very happy about that. Then I also suggest that when you talk to them, is you think about it in terms of advice versus opinion. So this way that not only lets them know where you're coming from, but also lends more credibility to what you're saying. And lastly is you're absolutely right. We are passing the torch basically to you. And I say we because I'm a little bit older than you. Not that I'm passing you any technical knowledge, but there are guys out there that were your mentors and my mentors who have packed it in, as they say. They don't want to do it anymore, and they're either in a good financial position where they don't have to, or they've generated other revenue streams so they don't have to. I mean, they may not be completely out of it, but they may have taken most of their toes out of the water, and you may see them occasionally. So yeah, I think it's time for all of those who are up and coming like yourself, Omar, to really take the torch and run with it and be the face and the leaders moving forward.
I appreciate that, and I just need to hold the mantle and go with it at this point, right? You had said something that I want to add to my vocabulary, and if anybody knows me, I'm very big on words and how you string them together and put them into a sentence because it holds power, and your brain kind of operates this way, whether you believe it or not. You had said advice versus opinion, and I like that because for me as an educator, right, and I was trying to be that mentor to anybody who's willing to listen. Sometimes saying that might be a little more instructive, like, hey, this is my opinion to do it this way. It's not a fact, but there are times where if I'm talking about SMT 2020 or SMT 2021 or 22, those are some facts, right? Like these are the facts. So I think include some of that verbiage would be good. I purposely left out Ed's comment here from while you were talking because I think it's very powerful, and I kind of want to leave. I wanted to bring it up to the community here. So Ed had said, being a mentor is making an investment in someone else's success. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think that's very powerful to also keep that in the back of your mind. That this is part of, you're taking that responsibility, right, to do that. And that's super powerful in itself. And then he continues to say, but it is equally and commitment of time to sharing knowledge, which is also something that Ed no one can doubt Ed and what he's saying. Ed's helps with AV Tech Talks. He's one of the main hosts for that. He's one of the hosts on the Zoom Test Kitchen. Ed is constantly in the chats, commenting to people, help people out. Ed will share with you if you ask, and he's a phenomenal source to have. And if he says something, you guys should listen because he's been doing this for a very, very long time. He's very, very technical. And he's able to dumb it down to make it very simple and easy to digest that information and not get into that nitty gritty minutia unless you go that route with him. But he's able to do it. Being mentored requires the same investment and commitment. I'm happy to mentor pretty much anyone. Look, I didn't even get to that part, and he's already saying it. But only a few follow through beyond the immediate answers they're looking for, which is a key point I wanted to take here. Is that Scott and me were actually talking about this a little bit earlier, and we were talking about how no matter what we do in this industry and how much we try to give, right? And how much we try to just, here's the information, here's what it is. This isn't the carrot and the stick. This is here's the carrot, I'm giving it in your hand, eat it. And people don't do it. They listen, they take what they want from it, and they go somewhere else, or like, oh, I got my one answer. And it's like, you know what? That's the YouTube mentality, right? That's and I'm a big fan of this, and I won't, you guys can put it in the comments and I'll put it up there, but it's called RTFM. I'm a big fan of RTFM, big fan of manuals, big fan of that acronym. I'm using, this is the seriousness, RTFM. And then I got the knife hand coming out, RTFM, guys. So big fan of that, because when you go that route and you read the manual and you go through it, and you really just master one piece of gear and learn the ins and outs of what a switcher does or a mixer does or a shader, whatever the case is, that knowledge will transfer to other things. And knowing what something's supposed to do or capable of doing makes you a better operator. When you just go look for that one answer, you only know that one answer from YouTube. You haven't learned everything else, and you may stumble on something else, or you may be causing a problem somewhere else that you haven't even thought about. One of my biggest things back in the day when Barco was like the go-to for everything, if I ever got a Screen Pro, a Screen Pro 2 or an Image Pro, the first thing I did was factory reset it, because I don't know who had it before me, what they did prior to that, what they programmed in there, what horizontal pixels, like I don't know any of that stuff. So factory reset it, plug in my stuff, see what happens, and then fine tune it from there, because I'm not going to sit there and troubleshoot someone else's problems that may be wasting me time, right? They might have had to change something because of a VGA cable back in the day, because of a color spacing issue, and I'm here trying to troubleshoot something else when it's just in the switcher. So if I go to factory default, it was my way of knowing, okay, at factory, it is this. I know where these settings are, so I can troubleshoot very quickly. Versus, I got the switcher, I have all these problems, it could be XYZ. Well, it could be, but if you know what the operating system is at standard, that can help you, because these machines, right, they're meant to make our lives easier, and they're meant to make us work more effectively if we utilize them correctly. A great example I'll give real quick, because we've got about 15 minutes left, and I want the community. You guys have been super great, super awesome with everything you're doing. I want to get to your questions if you have any for us. Ask them in the comments. We'll bring them up and we'll answer them. But last thing I'll say before we get to that point is, if you guys have ever used a Hannibal 4A switcher, love this switcher, great switcher, has 8 auxes, tons of inputs, tons of outputs, does HDMI, does VGA, does RGB, HV, has all these different card slots. We did a show one time for it. I wasn't the operator for it, but I'd read the manual. This is in my younger career, and they are having problems with the cameras. Now, I wasn't on this show. I knew about the problem. I found out through one of the other guys that they were having a problem with the cameras, that they weren't switching correctly. They didn't have a tri-burst or black burst or whatever at the time. But there was a rack there that I built for CCUs, and I knew the switcher. I read the manual for the switcher, okay? And for whatever reason, this particular switcher, if you guys ever use this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It defaults to not frame lock. You have to go into the menus and turn it on if you want the cameras to frame lock. Mind you, this is a switcher for cameras, right? No latency, live production, full-blown camera switcher. It is defaulted internally to have no frame lock on. I assumed, and I never really followed up on it, but I assumed it was because if you had an external one, you could plug it in there, bypass all that stuff. But it had one built internally. It made it very clear when you boot it up that there was one internally. It did not make it clear that it was off. So I called in, said, hey, go to the menu, go to the advanced menus, go in here, turn it on. It'll solve all your problems for the show. And that was my first moment where I was like, oh, reading these manuals are super important, because had I gone to Google to find out the one answer, there's a bunch of, I wouldn't have known how to get there. So anyways, RTFM, big fan of that. I'm going to see if actually someone posted it in the comments here real quick, because I'm a big fan of it. Big fan. So sorry. So great. What I got? I'm coming down here. So I got one from Alan here. Great Great, Scott. You are totally right. People person is huge. Omar, yes. Duffy from the media days, Caribbean days, doing spider server days. Yes, yes. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. I actually did a show with him a couple weeks ago. It was awesome to see him, and I took pictures and like fanboy, like, oh my God, Duffy, you're still working? I thought you retired. He's like, no, he got bored of it. Ed commented back to you, Scott. To Scott's point, sometimes giving opinion on something you could offer advice on, so your mentee can come to the answer themselves, is also a valuable tool to keep in your belt. I like that. See, Ed's always dropping these nuggets of knowledge right here. Yep. So sometimes making them think for it a little bit is an option too, and which is true, right? You don't always want to give out the answers. Yep. Good job, guys. Oh, here we go. I read the manual of any gear that comes my way. Iris got it. Sweet. Yeah. So we got about 12 minutes left on the clock, everybody. I'm seeing the chat's going on. Sorry. So, Scott, is there anything you want to say to the community? I know we got about 12 minutes left.
Absolutely. I'll just share some insights I have. I'm very fortunate to have relationships with several owners and salespeople in and outside of our industry. And I can tell you, if you haven't heard yet, things are definitely looking much better in the fall, guys. Just talking to the salesmen, they're getting more RFPs for the fall. And then, I've even heard of people, including myself, getting booked next year already. So I think we're on the upswing, and I highly encourage you, if you're not busy right now, continue learning, continue networking, working on all your skills, because when it does come back, I think we're going to have a little bit of a challenge. And what I mean by that is going back to Omar's, when we're saying, some of the older folks are, taking this as a exit stage left and not coming back, which is going to put a little bit of a damper on our labor market. But then there's a lot of folks who I've talked to who are just not in the position to come back. And I know that sounds strange, but if you think about it, unless you go into a full-time job with somebody in the industry, you're probably a freelancer. And, if you think about what's happened to us in the last 18 months, if we had an emergency fund, we've kind of blown through that. And we probably have taken gigs or jobs that probably don't pay us what we normally make. So therefore, the building of our emergency funds are not happening as quickly as we like. So I'm already seeing shortages in labor now. And it's just going to be interesting as we really start kicking. And I can tell you, I know for a fact the World Center is jamming in October, because I'm going to be on one of the shows that has 80 breakouts in it, and a general session, and exhibit hall. I've been on 1,500 person gigs up in Georgia. Nobody wore a mask. And they're struggling right now trying to find people to fill at least the key roles right now. But even when we get down to the nitty gritty, it's hard to find even the basic stagehand roles. So keep that in mind. Whatever you can do to get your name out there and start talking to some of these labor companies, let them know that you're still in it and you're still willing, and get on their list, because it's coming. And then it looks like 2022 is really going to be obviously much better than 2021. And then they're expecting very close to normal in 2023. So wanted to share that with you, so it gave you some insight of what I've heard. If you have heard anything more or different, please comment in the chat. I'd love to share it with those that are here, so they have an idea. And then obviously take advantage of any learning opportunity you have with AV Educate. Feel free to join the Growth and Development Network. Again, it's a private group, but I think Omar will put up the link in the chat. Basically, if you want to get in, there's two ways to get in. One is you have to befriend another GDM member who will get you in, or you can go to our fan page, request an opportunity to get in, and then of course we'll let you in. And once you get in, feel free to scroll up and down the timeline, see all the contributions from everyone. You'll see some of my horrible videos from the very beginning. Those horrible videos actually landed me a great job in marketing during the pandemic. But feel free to check it out. Feel free to contribute. Just keep in mind, we just don't allow any negativity, no politics, no religion, anything like that. We just wanted very comfortable zone for everybody to learn and grow and ask questions. That's really all I have at the moment, Omar. Is there anything you'd like to?
I'm getting a call right now. I think is it Bible Productions? Is that who's calling in right now? Oh, sorry. I'll just let you come into call. You're calling in, caller. Oh, hey, it's Chris.
Hey,
what's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
We don't hear you, unfortunately. So your caller just dropped out. Still don't hear you. You look like you're on vacation though. I like it. I see you nod. Yep. Microphone I saw muted. All right, so while you troubleshoot that, we're gonna keep talking here. So I saw a comment that came in from Ed here. So if you guys aren't learning stuff right now, if you're not getting your game going, especially in Florida, Ed here just posted that he might need Scott and me to mentor him when he moves down to Florida. So the market's going to get really, really busy because the man is moving down here. So you guys better keep up because when he comes down here, it's going to be a game changer. So, you got some time before he makes the move, but you might want to get on it.
And you know what, that brings to a point that, a lot of my coaching sessions is, there's a lot of folks that have taken advantage of AV Educate and other resources, and they're experiencing a little bit of frustration right now, that, hey, I'm educating myself, I'm getting all these certificates, but yet I'm not getting hired. I understand that. I really do. But here's what you need to think about. And from speaking to owners is, in fact, Omar, this will make you laugh. Omar helped teach me the Aquilon RS4 $185,000 switcher. Okay. Now, those of you that know me know that I'm a rock when it comes to learning technical stuff. It doesn't compute. But Omar has a way of making me understand it. So I was able to build a mini general session with it, and I was very proud of myself that, hey, no one else in OPAV really had a working knowledge of it at that time. So I went up to the president of OP and I said, hey, man, guess what? I'm the second guy that really knows how to work this. You can put me on shows. And he looks at me and goes, hell no. And I said, what do you mean, hell no? He says, I wouldn't put you on my show with the Aquilon RS4 if we were going downhill on fire. And I was kind of taken back by it. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He says, how much real world experience do you have in that switcher? I said, well, 0. We're in a pandemic. He says, my point. If I was lucky enough to get a show that I could rent out my $185,000 switcher on, do you think I'm going to put somebody on there that's inexperienced in a live environment? And that's when the light bulb went on. Aha. But what he did tell me made even more sense. He says, Scott, take that knowledge you have, and in every opportunity that you get moving forward, do a little bit of it and show people you can do it. So the moral of the story is, don't get upset if you're not able to apply everything right when you get into the business. Once people get to know you, get to trust you, they're going to give you those opportunities. The guys that are doing all this learning, in my opinion, that are, taking that and applying it right away, are the guys who were known for being technical geniuses to begin with. I mean, if you take guys like Omar and Ed, who before the pandemic happened, they were V1s, very talented. And so, those names will pop up automatically. And of course, since they've studied all these things, more owners are going to be comfortable with those guys right off the bat. But once other owners get to know you and they see you have this knowledge, you'll get your chance. So it's not for nothing. Just get yourself in any position you can out there. I don't care if it's a stage-hand or if it's a lighting assist and you're a video guy, just get out there and show people you have the knowledge, because that's half the battle. It's not so much who you know, it's who knows you.
100%. Chris, I think we got you now, right? Are you there?
Yes, you can hear me now.
We hear you now.
StreamYard wasn't accepting my Google settings. Go figure. But anyway, I just wanted to jump in here and talk about, not only is it important having a mentor, it's also important having somebody, and I posted it in chat, but I had to come in here and say it's important to have somebody that has faith in you, in your abilities as well. Like Omar, I've worked in this type of stuff my entire life, back and forth, whether it was in video engineering, network engineering, IT engineering, anything like that. And when Omar brought me in last year and he's like, dude, you could do this for a living. I'm like, no, I can't. I don't have the knowledge that you guys have to run the shit the way you guys do, excuse my language, on a show and keep it moving as quickly and smoothly as you do. Omar's like, trust me, you do. You do. So with a little bit of shove, push, and kicking me off of a bridge in lesser manner, and a job that really didn't help, it happened in January, and I can't be happier in what I'm doing. So not only does a mentor help you with those things that you're doing in life where it's helping you through whatever you're going through, helping you gain the knowledge that you need and something that you need, you also need a mentor who has faith in you. And that's the biggest thing, in my opinion, for a mentor. If you have a mentor and they don't have faith in your ability and they don't have faith in what you're doing, it doesn't matter what they try to teach you. It's not going to help at all. At all.
Yep.
You know,
those are some powerful closing words right there. I love it. So, unfortunately, Scott, I gotta let you go for the night. It's a pleasure having you with us. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Deep insights, deep knowledge base. Thank you so much for being here. I know you kind of said your parting words already, so I'll skip from doing that again. But again, I just want to thank you for being here. If anybody has any positive feedback from the community, we could throw up here real quick for Scott for spending time with us for the night. He's got family; he could be doing other stuff. So thanks for being here, Scott. I'm gonna let you go, and we'll talk a little later. All right?
All right, guys. Thank you for having me on the show. Hope you enjoyed it. And last tip is, if you want to get in good with a company, have them put your work, ask somebody from the company to mentor you. Have a great night.
Chris, I guess since you're here with us tonight, you have anything you want to say before you close us out? I got one comment I want to bring up to close the night out because it's way better than what I could say. But do you have anything you want to say before I let you go?
No, man, no.
Perfect, man. Thanks for coming in and saying that positive feedback to the community.
Absolutely.
Ed here real quick is saying, great talk tonight. I have to go help my neighbor change a tire, but I'll see you all soon. Thanks again for the great conversation. Ed, thanks for watching with us tonight. I want to bring up, guys, I am not the master of words. I'm not the wisdom giver or the bearer. Austin Jackson, that was totally his thing. He's the man. If you guys don't know who that is, you should definitely look up at the Austin Network. Austin Jackson Network. It's a great platform. Super powerful words all the time. But I want to leave you guys at one thing before you all tune off for the night. And George wrote this, and I think it was absolutely perfect for what's going on. Absolutely, labor is short. Companies are bringing back the people that want to come back. Talent is somewhat scarce, and super talent has found greener pastures. Can is being kicked down the road and being reviewed at every step. Businesses are just trying to throttle and navigate responsibly. That's my pulse on industry. Learning is good, but don't hide away in a cave. Feel the pulse of society and see what things are going. Network and innovate. I think that ending right there, network and innovate, guys, is super important. If you've been watching us, if you've been tuning in with us, these are all great opportunities. Everybody's in the chat tonight. All of you have been here. I hope you're friend requesting each other. You're having side conversations. You're having messages. I hope you're doing it with the AV Tech Talks. I hope you're doing it with the podcast. That's what we do with a lot of you guys. We'll hit you up. We'll talk to you. This it's all about the networking out there, and it's all about getting your face out there. If you're interested in working with us in the AV Educate side, you want to be on a show with one of us, either AV Tech Talks or the podcast, just send us a message. We're between Chris, Ed, me, and Disa. We come up with ideas left and right. We'd love to have you on the show. If you haven't followed us already, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share. Follow us on YouTube. We and actually, Scott, I have to thank you. We successfully streamed to YouTube tonight, so big hurrah for that. We'll make a bigger announcement next week about it, but we have successfully streamed now both the podcast and the AV Tech Talks to Facebook and YouTube. So again, everybody, thank you for being here so much with us. I appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words, the positive feedback, and hope to see you guys next week. See you Monday or Wednesday. Every week we're here. Love you guys. Bye.